Only 9 appointed.
9.
You got 2 blanks.
9.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Infrastructure Task Force Advisory Committee meeting of December 5. Can we please take a roll call?
Certainly. Mr. Angeli.
Here.
Mr. Grabsky. Absent. Mr. Labrie.
Present.
Mr. Marshall. Absent. Mr. Partington. Absent. Mr. Walters.
Here.
Mr. Zeltman.
Here.
And Chair Amano.
Here.
We have a quorum of 5.
Thank you very much. Alrighty. Approval of the agenda. Everyone's had an opportunity.
Move to approve, Madam Chair.
Thank you, sir. Any seconds?
Second.
James. Okay, all in favor of moving the agenda, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Approval of previous meeting minutes from November 7th. And has anybody got any comments on the November 7th meeting?
I move to approve with or without corrections.
Okay, that was Roosevelt. Anybody else? A second?
Second.
That was Jerry for a second. Now, were there any corrections? Yes, James.
No corrections, but I just want to thank the people who put the minutes together because last month's meeting was really informative and I thought the minutes really captured everything that was important and relevant and helped clarify some things for me as well. So I'm very appreciative of that. Of course, I have a lot more questions now for Alan and Omar, but we'll get to that later.
Okay, anybody else? Duly noted. Everybody in favor of the minutes, please say aye.
Aye.
Moving right along. Okay, old business. Let's get right into it. Update on the comprehensive agreement for the water treatment plant. You all have probably seen this new document.
Yeah.
This is like the second or third iteration of the presentation. And for the record, I want to say that I'm very appreciative that the staff has produced this document, which is much more comprehensive than the original one that was presented to the commission, and contains a lot of the issues that we had recommended. We're making great progress in terms of describing the project and the implications of the project and the need for the project, et cetera, et cetera. I'm most appreciative of the last page, which says that this is what needs to be done going forward, and that is continue to review the comprehensive agreement and the appendices, which are important parts of the comprehensive agreement, and the labor services agreement, none of which are ready for prime time. Most of which, some of which are and some of which aren't ready for prime time, okay? You're gonna be meeting with the Teamsters. Oh, that must be fun. Ever go to a Teamsters meeting and get out of there in one day? No, not likely, but the next one is the important one. We're recommending a town hall presentation to the public, which is what we talked about at our last meeting, so that's part of the recommendation. You're also recommending a public website with all the documents so that more people than just us can see the information. Very, very important, and we specifically wanted that. The comprehensive agreement and labor services agreement is still percolating. But I have a question. Tentatively, you are scheduling for the city commission consideration on December 20th. That assumes that all of these other things are gonna get done before December 20th?
That's correct, and we're still working on the comprehensive agreement. It's still not, we still have questions, there are still updates, there's still a few things that need to be updated. And so, not sure if that's gonna be ready for the 20th.
Okay, so it's,
Like I said, we're still
tentative.
working.
okay, Roosevelt?
Yes, the town hall presentation, is that something that's going to be done at City Hall? Are we doing in reach and outreach in the communities? What are we doing?
It's gonna be virtual, it's gonna be a virtual presentation. People are gonna be able to ask
Okay,
questions, I believe,
Okay.
but it's not gonna be on a public setting.
Well, there's good and bad on that. I mean, a lot more people can access it, but you have to be computer savvy to access
Yeah.
it.
I mean, that might change.
And you gotta have one,
You gotta have.
and internet.
How are we going to track attendance?
I don't know all the details, but I can find it out.
Because I believe, Madam Chair, that the purpose of this was to inform the general public. And if we don't know whether we are or are not informed, and it leaves a whole lot of unanswered questions for me. So if you can, let us know, and it doesn't have a date on it, so I assume it's somewhere out there.
We don't have a date on it yet because we still gotta we gotta make sure that this happens on the 20th.
Yes,
We have
yes.
everything resolved by that day.
Okay,
So,
okay. I just
So-
keep us informed, please.
So, you know, you would think that we will have that before we have the meeting on the 20th, right?
One would hope.
But to have that meeting before the 20th, we gotta have all the documents that we can present.
Right.
With everybody agrees, that's not the case at this point, right?
Okay,
Thank you.
all right. So, the other, I have specific questions about the document itself, which we can go through page by page if you all wanna do that. I'm assuming other people have questions as well, but I just wanted to deal with that, issue of how's this working. And to your point, Roosevelt, when you do these Zoom meetings, you always know how many participants there are, and there's a counter. How many people have, signed into the, but I don't think you're gonna know where they're from. You're just gonna know that
Well,
200 people signed into the website.
and it keeps a present total,
Yes.
but it doesn't give you a total. You know, if I sign in and stay for 5 minutes and I sign out and he sign in, it'll still have the same amount of sign in, but it's two different people getting the information necessary. And I'm a person that I don't believe in outreach. I believe in inreach.
Okay.
And there's a difference, because outreach, we tell people, we're gonna hold a meeting here and you can come and be a part. Whereas inreach, we say, when are your meetings? And let us come to you, that way you already got an audience, and you got the people that is presumed to be the important people in that location of the city. And I think that's who we are trying to reach. And I know that they were talking about it. Well, let's make sure that we get the homeowners association's president there. Well, that's one person, but that's a mass of people if that president is doing a job. And I want them to be clear as to what we are trying to do, because it's gonna make our job a hell of a lot easier at the end.
True enough, true that. Okay. All right, they also, I think I should point out to you that the commission is gonna be seeing this document
Tomorrow.
and having a discussion tomorrow. So post our discussion here with whatever concerns we have, I would like to, if it's all right with everybody here, go to that meeting tomorrow afternoon. First of all, thank the staff for making improvements to this and making the information clearer and hopefully more accessible to a lot of people, and also to convey whatever additional concerns we have here. Yes, James.
Marilyn, I'm planning on attending the conference meeting as well, but
Okay.
of course I'll defer to you to be the speaker for
Okay.
the infrastructure task force.
Right, and we can, do you have to leave the room or do you just not have to?
I just got to keep my mouth shut.
Okay,
Can't speak.
We'll do
At what?
at the
conference
conference
meeting?
meeting tomorrow.
Right,
No,
Ralph?
he don't have to keep his mouth, closed.
Yeah, the attorney has
Yeah.
opined and slapped our wrists several times.
Yeah.
It's a public broadcast meeting, and unless you're in disagreement with the chair,
I can't speak. Only one person from the infrastructure task force can speak. Otherwise, you're breaking the sunshine.
where's that attorney?
That's-
Our
he-
attorney.
This was a cage match.
Jim and I tested this.
Yeah, Ralph and I had gone through
The
this.
precedent
through it
is, he's no longer, the fact that he's on the ITFAC supersedes the fact that he's a citizen.
As members of advisory committees, we are further constrained than citizens. That's what he
Okay,
says.
okay.
All right, let's not,
Okay, I think he kinda helped me out there.
okay, cool.
I can understand a different set of rules. Okay,
Mhm.
okay,
All right,
appreciate it, thank you.
thank you. All right, let's
See, I
start.
learn something every day, I tell you.
Isn't life good?
It-
Okay, so let's go. First, the first page is the brief overview of the existing water treatment infrastructure. Very important. Most people have no idea what the whole picture looks like. Second page is why we need a new water treatment plant. Okay. What do we need a new water treatment plant for? We got water. No, you need a new water treatment plant for the following reasons. Third page is the chronology. This is very, very important because this explains where we started, and we started in in December of 2019 when the Corolla was. That's when the decision, or when the recommendation was made that we go with Prospect and that we go with a specific technology. Then we spent a whole year virtually doing nothing. Okay? We did nothing for a whole year. That is not true, actually. In that whole year, I can't tell you how many times we came to this meeting and said, where's the owner's representative? When are we gonna get the owner's representative? When is the contract gonna be let? When's the scope of services gonna be done? We pushed and pushed to get moving, but nothing happened until the first proposal dropped on us, the first proposal, and that was in December of 2020, okay? So that dropped, and still, we kept going, all right? And it wasn't until June of that next year that the commission decided, okay, we're gonna investigate P3s. We're going to enter into, not a comprehensive agreement, but we were gonna start the process. Wouldn't that be a better way to describe it?
It was a way to let other companies submit unsolicited proposals. At that time, we only had one.
But what I'm saying is, wouldn't that be more descriptive to say that in that green box, it wasn't really a notice of intent into a comprehensive agreement, but it was really because I'm trying to express that at that moment in time, we decided to accept other proposals rather than to enter into an agreement.
Yeah, eventually you were gonna enter into an agreement.
Eventually.
Yeah.
But at that moment, in June of 2021, we were not entering into any agreements. We were entertaining proposals. Such a suggestion, you might wanna change that wording there so that people don't think, oh, well, we were already gonna do a comprehensive agreement. We weren't. We were entertaining comprehensive agreements. Yes, Russo?
On that 620, prior to the meeting starting, weren't, at that time, the intent was to consider.
Yeah.
I think because of the feedback or the feed into the meeting on the 20, they decided, well, let's not consider this, let's consider others.
Others, yeah.
Yeah.
Right. Okay, so on 12/20/20, they got the first proposal, and then 6 months later, they said, okay, let's consider a proposal and let's take other options, other proposers, okay? Another important thing happened in June of 2021. Hazen and Sawyer came on board, finally. The city's representative, I believe they came on board in June, according to my notes, June of 2021. Correct me if I'm wrong.
I think that's right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay,
It's
so
not-
a lot happened in June of 2021. All right, so now we're into the period when we're looking at the proposals, okay? And there was a 90-day period when they looked at the proposals. And the next thing that happened was in January of 2022, there was a conference meeting, and that's when we did the technical and financial look at the proposals. That's when we, as a committee, requested a month time to weigh in, all right? And on February 15th, we did weigh in. And that was when we weighed in and said, we believe you should do an RFP, and you should not go P3, chronologically speaking, all right? They did not take our recommendation, which is their privilege. And in March, we had another presentation about the proposals, the ranking of the proposals. And in May of 2022, they went with the current proposal. Right, they accepted the current proposal.
No, I think, no, in March, we selected IDE on the,
On the March date,
yeah.
selected.
On May, we did the interim agreement.
Okay, so maybe it's the interim agreement.
Right.
So it only took us from March to May to get to an interim agreement.
Correct.
And now we're from March to the end of this year, and we don't have a comprehensive agreement yet.
Correct.
All right, so it's taken us from when they decided to do it, which was March of 2022, to get to December of 2022, and we still don't have the comprehensive agreement, but we're working on it. All right, everybody understand that?
Yes, you haven't gone through, Madam Chair, that we did. I have no question, for the commission, and any question I would have would be with staff. And if my question with staff, I would ask now rather than at the meeting.
I'm sorry, you would ask what?
I would ask now.
Yeah.
Rather than at the meeting. In other words, if you say, well, what took us so long?
Okay.
That is not a question that need to be asked of the commission because
No,
they
no.
don't know. We would ask that of staff. We can ask that of staff today if that's part of the question. I'm just trying to say, cause, if you're going to present, I would like to know, what information are you questioning or what additional information will you be providing? So
That's why we're talking here.
So that we're all on board with what you're doing.
You got it.
And I'll be on board, by the way, whatever you come up with.
No, but I'm speculating,
Yes,
yes, that this is not easy, all right?
it's not.
This is a complicated project, and it was like a shifting ground. We was started out at 385, and then we went up to 4 something, and then we discovered we had to have another pipe, and then we talked about the quality of the water. So it is not unreasonable that it has taken this amount of time because of those factors. And I will tell you that in our testimony on February 15th, we told them that this was gonna happen. We said, a complicated project like this, where you're introducing, I could read it, where you're introducing a third party into the utility scene, okay, it's gonna be complicated, and it's gonna take time. Because at the moment that we made our recommendation, they were very concerned with time. They're still very, very concerned with time. And, there are consequences to doing a P3 that are time intensive. So I don't think, as you say, it's productive to go over the past at any particular time, because we gotta go forward. But, you're good to ask, now that's my speculation. Chime in over there, what's what?
No, I mean, it's a very complex project, and there's a lot of things that, were so detailed through this whole 9 months process that we had to go back and forth. And you saw the agreement, I mean, it's very long, all the nexuses, everything. There is not only IDE in engineering, but also the utilities department that are involved because they operate the plants and the distribution system and everything, so it is complex.
How close are we here?
I think we're very close.
What is very close? But is the comprehensive agreement
I
been
think-
agreed to?
I think we're about 95%, if I had to guess.
So,
There is a few things that are still left to iron out.
okay, and so is it possible for us to get the most up-to-date copy of the comprehensive agreement?
We have the latest, I don't know if it's something that we can share right now, so, until it's completed.
Okay, so that tomorrow afternoon, when I go there, I can simply opine or point out that we don't have it, and we would like to have it, to see if these issues are addressed.
You can also point out the fact that, as staff has said, they're 95%
Yeah,
there.
I'm gonna be
But
very,
nobody knows how long it's gonna take for the other 5%.
That's correct.
That's
That
the
number is-
problem.
That is subjective. So
Yes.
the
Yeah.
5% might be.
And that's the hard part. I'm sure you got the easy stuff out of the way first, and these are the, the hard issues. All right, so, moving on. Anybody have any more issues on the chronology? So, one of the things we had asked the staff to provide was some information about the team and their qualifications, so that people will understand that this, this is not a fly-by-night group. And we asked them to provide us with some examples of projects that they have done before as sort of a, what have they done of this nature? And I would simply note that every project here is not a water treatment plant. They're desalinization plants and they're pipeline projects, which I don't know if that's relevant, but I would have loved to have seen if these guys had any experience in water treatment plants. But if not.
They do have some experience in water treatment. Usually the desalination is way more complex than what we're doing. So if they have experience with desalination, this should be a simpler task. But I'm pretty sure they do. When we went in March and did the presentation, I believe I had in there that they had experience with water treatment. Can't remember right now off the top of my head, but.
Okay. All right, but this is the information that the staff is providing. Moving along to page 6.
Let me just say,
Yes,
just let
please.
me say that would be good to put that, include that in the backup as far as what experience they do have in water. If we say it's desalination, well, but also if they do have the experience, they should include that as well.
This slide was provided by them, I believe. So my guess is that they put that desalination plant there because that's probably the largest desalination project in the world.
It is caused that.
So, that might be why they do it.
Looking at size instead of the unique quantity.
All right.
Okay.
Well, it's somewhat helpful. Let's put it that way. It's somewhat helpful.
Okay.
On page 6, a brief overview of the proposed plan. This was very helpful to me. I did not realize the location of the Prospect well field in relation to the plant. I thought it was much closer. It is a significant distance away. And it's also interesting to me to see the Dixie well field and the Dixie plant, okay? The wells are not in the city. It looks like the wells are not on city property. The Dixie well field is in Plantation.
They only have what, about 8 wells at the Field Dixie well field?
Yeah. Yeah.
8,
Yeah.
right.
Well, I found this very interesting, and I think other people will find it interesting. So it's good to have it here, all right? Now, the other part that's here is the enhanced design provided by Ridgewood Project Team includes several features. So they have actually modified the Carrillo design. They have gone beyond Carrillo. Modifications in the base design to guarantee that the plant can treat a wider range of feedstock water quality. What does that mean?
That what that
What are you
means
trying
is,
to get across with that?
is expansion, modification, we can expand, we can add trains, I think that's what that means here. If you need to go to brackage water, they will have the space to put a different kind of train, for brackage water. If the water in the aquifer, salinity increases or something like that.
Well, that's very interesting you bring that up. That was one of our key concerns through this whole process, was we are in charge of the wells, we are in charge of providing the water, okay? And I didn't want us to be in a situation where if there's some problem with the water, salinization comes in, who knows, lead comes out, we don't know, all right? 30 years, nobody knows. We did not want to be in a situation where now we got to pre-treat the water that we give them to treat on our dime. So I think you have struggled with this, and have you come to a conclusion on
Well,
this?
let's say that the salinity in the well field changes.
Yeah.
We will have to pay for the changes for them to process that water.
Okay, so we when you talk about risk transfer, that's still our risk.
Yeah, that is our.
So apparently in one of these indexes now, somewhere, there's an analysis of the quality of the water that's coming up right now. And that's the quality of the water that they have to treat to our standard.
Correct.
Anything changes, we have to deal with that. Okay, all right, good to
Which
know.
we will have to do it.
If we ran it, we'd have to do
Yeah.
it anyway. Good to know.
One question here, what type of treatment are they proposing? Is it like the nano filtration like you have down at Peel Dixie?
Right, it's 70% nanofiltration, 30%
That's
ionic.
That's what I gathered, and then you have like 2 deep well injection systems to get rid of I think you call 12%, and they say 15%,
It's around.
in that range somewhere.
It's 15% of the 70% of nanofiltration, whatever that flow is.
Right,
I think it
right.
came out to like 6 million or.
Okay, I see where you got your.
Okay. And I think one of the important things that I wanna compliment the staff on getting into the agreement was originally, we were gonna be responsible for security. Remember that when we
Yeah.
saw the first one?
Right.
And I said, that doesn't seem right to me, and you modified that and you negotiated, I'm sure, that they are now entirely responsible for not only the physical, but the cybersecurity. That was a great improvement, I think, in the comprehensive agreement. Okay, so here we go, we've got a 42 months construction period from the notice to proceed. Could you explain a little bit more about when that happens? We're really not talking 42 months, are we?
We are talking 42 months from the time we say, and we sign the comprehensive agreement.
Okay, so it's the signing of the comprehensive agreement, not the plans are approved and you get a notice to proceed and a building
No,
permit.
once we sign the comprehensive agreement, we will notice to proceed, and it will be 42 months after that.
Okay, so all the design time and the permitting time is on them.
Is that 42 months?
Okay, gotcha, good to know. Any questions on that?
Yes,
Yes.
this for you, city, quarters, one is, July, October,
Quarter one, yeah, July to October.
July or October. It's not the beginning of the year, it's either
Oh, no.
based on state time or based on county.
October, it's the October,
It's
fiscal year
October
starts in
1,
October.
October 1, okay, I just wanna know, because then this end of the second quarter will be April.
Very good, moving along. Next page.
No, wait, I have one more question.
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
So, on this map here, does this imply that the communities that are listed on this map are served by the water treatment plant? I mean, I know Wilton Manor's in Oakland Park, but you've got Sea Ranch Lakes, Lauderdale by the Sea, you've got Tamarack. Are they part of the service area?
Part of Davie, I think.
They're not,
Maybe.
some of those towns are not part of our
No, they're
actual
not.
large customer service.
They're
record.
not.
No.
Well, you know, on this page, at the very beginning, page 2, I guess it was, where you list, you've got, you know, city of Fort Lauderdale, that board, I'm sure what that's supposed to mean. You're serving 261,000. It's broader range, if it's Tamarack and Davie and some of these other places, I think it's worthwhile that information be shared.
All the,
Or seven customers.
show all the customers and the amount of people that we serve
I
total.
think that's valuable,
Yeah.
yeah, because particularly when we start talking about gallons per day, and I know this was kind of the discussion we had last month, that you know, the capacity of the plant will be 50 million gallons, but that's not necessarily usage. And we talked about what usage would be, and I asked the question about usage in the other towns outside of Fort Lauderdale.
Yeah.
There was that 38 million gallons number
Right.
that I think included, but I'm not sure if that included like Wilton
It did.
Manors and Oakland
That
Park and
includes,
those
that
others.
includes, that's the average flow.
That's everybody included in
That
that.
is, yeah. It varies a little bit, but it's between 38 and I
And,
think 42 million.
and I'm not saying it needs to be in this report, but one of my questions for the team is, can you provide the task force with the breakdown of how many millions go to those different reps?
Now,
Provide
the
it.
38 million also includes the Peel Dixie plant. So it's between the two.
Oh, so that's the total consumption,
That
not
is
from
the total.
5-ash.
Yeah.
Can we break that down to 5-ash?
Yeah, we can get that.
Yeah.
Total consumption.
Yeah, I'm not saying it needs to be in this presentation,
know,
I'm just
I
saying I think it'd be good information for our group to know.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And also, what's my other question
So let me just say the Peel Dixie, that's like 12 million gallon capacity versus now, 50 up at the 5-ash or replacement of the 5-ash.
So when we talked last month, this was the question I had based on the minutes. We have the capacity to generate 50. We're gonna pay for 50 because we have the capacity for 50. Does it make sense to even run Peel Dixie or to really slow it down if we're gonna be making, if we're gonna be getting the water out of the new treatment plant and we're paying for it, why not use it?
That's, I believe that's part of the plan, when we have high demand and we don't need, or low demand and we don't need to operate Peel Dixie, we probably just gonna use 5-ash.
And I understand that you have to put so much into reserve and something like that every
Right.
day, yeah, so, I don't know, I find that interesting and kind of like to have more information on that.
Well, I think that's a very, very important point because people are very upset about we're paying for 50. Why are we paying for 50?
Yeah.
And if the reason we're paying for 50 is at some point, we may be running the whole system on 5-ash.
There's value.
What if Pee Wee gets hurt or, you know,
Yeah.
it's old now already,
It is.
right? So, you know, the 50, I was very upset until I started thinking about, well, 50 would run the whole damn system if we had to. And we're growing. So we're gonna need more than the 38 to 42 that we're using now. And when you think about it, if we're using 38 to 42 between the two of them, and we had to run only on 5-ash, there's not a whole hell of a lot left.
45.
Yeah,
I was
42
gonna-
to 50.
I think what we need is maybe a projection on what's the anticipated demand
Mhm.
going through the years, because if we hit 50, then we're going to have, hey, we've got to expand this new plant to,
60.
for the next X number of years. So
Mhm.
that would be very helpful. You have a rough idea, I realize, with all the high rises being, that's popping up in it may shoot up pretty steeply.
And we can't control the growth in the other towns. As a matter of fact, this comes up on the regular agenda. We are going to enter into an agreement with the city of Davie to sell them water, okay?
Yeah.
It's a 25 plus 5 plus 5 plus 5, like for 30 to 35 years. And, you know, we're making the deal right now. And in that deal, there is no real limitation on the amount of water we give them. There is one limitation that individuals in Davie can't use more than 100 million gallons, okay? That's a lot of water. But if they do want to use more than 100,000 gallons, okay? If they do want to use more than 100,000 gallons, they just have to ask. And we can't unreasonably withhold. There's no criteria upon which we can say, no, we can't give you any more. We can't let you open up a Coca-Cola bottling plant and start drawing more water because water is limited, all right? And there are other issues like that in terms of the quantity of water, and the capacity to produce water and the capacity to sell water. And those things we're not dealing with. We're not thinking about them. And by getting through to this 5-ash process, they're all starting to come to the, geez, why are we doing that? Why are we going into this sort of open-ended contracts with our clients when at some point 42 gets to 50 and we're not gonna be in a position to keep giving everybody water. The other problem is, and I won't belabor this much more, in that Davie agreement, it says that if Fort Lauderdale is required by a government agency to do emergency water conservation, the county says you can't wash your car every other day, okay? Davie has to go by that too. Well, they live in Broward County, of course they have to go by that. But what if we as a city decide everybody's gotta have low-flow toilets? Nobody gets a building permit, which is true now anyway, but let's just say, everybody in the city of Fort Lauderdale has to have low-flow toilets. Does everybody in Davie have to have low-flow toilets? Can they just go using the old toilets? There's all kinds of things that have come up while we start thinking about this that are not resolved. And they're not gonna get resolved tomorrow, so I'm not gonna go there, but it's something to think about. All right, so now let's get on to the enabling work. That's page 7.
Yeah.
Okay, so the city is gonna do the new high service pump. We're gonna do the new 54-inch pipe, okay, which is again one of the new complications that has made this so difficult to nail down. What are the well field modifications? Can you explain that? What are we doing with well field modifications?
The well field modifications, they're, we might have to have booster pumps, to increase the pressure depending on the type of membranes that
They're using?
they're using. There is also sand, carryover, and we're gonna have to have some filtration systems to take care of that sand. And, that's what that means for the.
And we would have had to do that whether they build a plant or not.
Correct.
Alright, so you see where I'm getting, I'm trying to figure out the difference between everything that we would have had to do if we did it, and what they're gonna do, and what it's gonna cost us to get them to do what they're gonna do.
And the last part of that, potable water distribution main,
That's making some, we had to make some modifications on the distribution pipe leaving fly ash. There's some of those pipes are old and we need to change some of those pipes. They're, valves that have to be replaced, things like that.
But that we would have to do anyway.
Yes.
I've got a question.
Sure.
Bringing up the deep well injection systems. I remember, I won't say what, last century I was involved with deep well. There was only like maybe 3 casings required. Now there's probably 5, 6 casings as you go from the surface down to the boulder zone, which is like 3,000 feet deep. And you have more casings as you're starting to go down, and then less and less because you're getting into a saline situation, the Floridan, and then down in the boulder zone. Has anybody checked with the regulatory agency as far as what it takes to get a permit to construct this now, and the timing involved? Because this may take a lot longer than in my mind than when I was involved with Margate. I was a consulting engineer in my earlier days. And it was time consuming, and the permitting and the requirements, that'd be a good thing to look at and stretch out over time to make sure that it's feasible without hurting the contract time.
Right, so they contacted the different authorities, to give permits on all kind of, for construction for the water plant. And that time is, at the 42 months is adequate for that. They already talked to a lot of people.
Okay.
And
I'm just raising, if that's been checked, then
They
fine.
had meetings with them. There is a list on the annexes of all the different permits that they have to get and who's responsible and everything, and so.
And the design aspect as well, because you're putting it on the Prospect well field.
Right.
You have to be a certain distance away from,
So that is their risk.
okay,
They have
I'll
to
stop
get the
designing it. I just
Right.
want to give examples of different things that could come up that could be a red flag, and say, oh, so much for our contract time. It's going to have to be a change order to extend it another X number of months or years. Okay.
There are a number of events that would extend the contract time. Do we have a list of what those events are that might extend the contract time? I remember from the comprehensive agreement, there were like relief events and.
I think there were like hurricanes, storms.
That's
all-
always
all
there.
There is a list of all those different types of events that can happen on the comprehensive.
Can we get a copy of that
It's on the
Because-
comprehensive agreement.
when we see the comprehensive agreement?
The copy that you have might have the latest on that.
Okay.
Yeah.
That was like months.
I know, but that hasn't
That
changed.
part hasn't
Right.
changed? Yeah, well, because hurricanes is force majeure, we all know about
It's all
hurricanes.
force majeure.
Yeah.
Type of situation.
Okay,
and the these restricted limitations, I guess you would call them, we looking at, no fault, right, on both sides. Like a hurricane, neither side could do anything
We will
about
have
it,
to
so-
extend time or whatever it takes.
Yeah, and no fault on either side.
Correct.
And I know you will have some that have fault, depending on who.
Right, I mean, the default portion of the comprehensive agreement, I had multiple questions in red.
Yeah.
That I think I gave you guys, because it was not clear. And the default was not, there were no monetary but there are some monetary damages if they don't make the water quality and the quantity. But even there, they can make that up another way rather than the money. But the big default problem that I saw in the last go-round was that if this is not working out, guys, you're constantly not doing it right or whatever, for every reason the city wants to get out, we're in for everything.
Mm.
We have to pay the whole 30-year back, which forget about, that's billions, right, to buy it back. So I've had concerns about that, I would be concerned about that,
And that part, I'm not sure if the attorneys have changed that or,
because we don't know. Okay, would that we knew. All right, anybody have any questions on this page? Page 7. All right, moving on to page 8. Okay, operations following the completion date, which we're all hoping to God is second quarter 2026, right? All right. So I would make a suggestion on this first line, the facility is owned by the city. It's really not operated by IDE. It's supervised and maintained by IDE.
no, it is operated.
No, our people are operating.
I know, but they're leading the operators.
So I'm saying they're supervising. I think it's confusing that
But
they think,
they are in charge of the whole operation. They're making the decisions, they're saying, turn it off, turn it on. So technically they're operating the plant, even though they're using our employees.
can we say operating with city employees or something like that?
Yeah, consider.
And when you say managed, you mean like when it's time to do the roof and when it's time to replace the pump?
Yeah.
Okay, and they're gonna pay for that, I think that's,
Yes, they are.
see, that doesn't come through to me. When I see operated and managed, I don't understand that within 30 years, somebody once said at one of these meetings that you have to figure on 5% of the project cost every year for maintenance. Things that have to be fixed. That's on them.
That is on them.
So I don't see that here, I don't get that, I don't know how you could express it, but I'm just telling you that when I'm reading it, I'm not getting a true sense of what their obligation is.
If you look at the third line,
Yeah.
it says ID is responsible for maintenance, repair, and replacement.
So you think that that's a better place to put
Yeah.
it there? Okay. Okay. So we are providing the feedstock, the water, the electricity, and chemicals. At some point, when we get into the documents with the numbers, electricity falls out. I don't know whether that was a mistake or what, but here it says we're providing the electricity and the chemicals, but when we do the numbers and the chart of the numbers, I think electricity fell off of the chart somehow, because it just says we're gonna provide the chemicals, additional chemicals.
We are also providing the electricity.
Yeah,
we
it's
are.
not here.
Yeah.
So we will get to that when we get to that page.
Right.
All right? Okay, anybody have any questions on this page?
They do mention down below, the city employees will staff facility
Yep.
to meet daily operations and maintenance requirements. Or what's happening to the management at Five Ash? There's management at Five Ash, correct?
Mhm.
What happens to those people and their responsibilities? Do they go away? I mean, does it change? Do we?
Well, some of them are gonna stay at the distribution side because Five Ash is still gonna have the tanks, the high pressure pumps, all that. So all that has to be still managed and controlled by us. We're gonna turn the pump on and off when the tanks are full, whatever. And some of those people that work there that are actually now operating the plant, they're gonna go to the IDE side and be part of the operation.
Voluntarily, I assume.
Yes, and how that's gonna happen and when, That's part of this comprehensive.
It's an agreement,
It's
which
in
we
the
don't
labor
have.
discussions. And what about training of people for those eventual management level positions and operational engineers or whatever they're called? I mean,
IDE is providing all the training to operate their plant that they're gonna be. So,
well, let me ask you this question then, because you talked about managed by IDE. To me, management means there's somebody there managing what's going on. So is there going to be training for city employees that somebody, maybe not person in charge, but the second person in charge is a city employee?
it could be, that's something that they will have to determine. If some of our people can go into the management side and, I don't know who they're bringing to operate the plant. I don't know their
Operator
structure.
license, they have to have
Yeah, they will have-
possess operator
yes.
license. I think that's where you're making sure that we have licensed, qualified people.
Right, but at some point, the city people have to run this thing completely. Unless you tell me 30 years from now, you're gonna have to get rid of it and get a new one.
Well, this
I
was-
won't be around to worry about that.
This was always the problem of trying to integrate a private sector operator into a public utility.
And
That's why it's taking so long, because it's complicated, and this is a direct
All right.
result of going this way as opposed to the other way.
Okay.
And pluses and minuses.
No more
Okay.
questions, sorry.
All right, 8, 9. All right, now let's get into it.
Yeah.
Let's get into it. Because I tried this out on some people and they went blah, 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 blah. Okay, so in December of 2020, the deal was that deal, okay? And it was only gonna take them 36 months. All right, now we got a revised deal that's gonna take 42 months. The initial rate changes, the rate of increase changes, and the split on the CapEx changes. Plus, we start thinking about the additional things that we need to do, and direct payment for the chemicals, and here's where electricity disappeared. Should be chemicals plus electricity. Just pointing it out. Okay? I'm assuming this may have some impact on the numbers, may not, I don't know.
It's already accounted in these numbers, it's just not spelled out here. It says city directly pay chemicals, we also pay electricity.
Well, why don't we just put down plus electricity?
On the page before.
It was on the page before, that's the point that I'm making. Okay, this just could have been a typo that you left it out, I don't know.
Yeah, I need to ask Alan why he put it in there,
Okay.
but.
All right, now if we did it by ourselves, we would still have to pay for all of these things, the electricity, the chemicals, the enabling work, yada, yada, yada. And you're projecting it will take us 66 months, but that's a projection.
Right.
Could be more, could be less. And then the last one is
Can you
where
go
we're
back-
at right now.
Can you do, the second one?
The second one was the first iteration of the revision.
And this 5% and 5.5%.
Yep.
Has that been agreed to by the commission
Not
already?
yet. Not yet, we'll get into that, hold on.
Okay, okay.
Originally, it was $3.30. But it was $3.30 to start, okay? With a 1% change every year. I don't know how much that would have probably, whatever, I don't know, so I
Well,
don't know
that
the answer to
included
that.
chemicals and other
Yeah.
things, so yeah.
But that's not on the table anymore, so let's
Okay.
not obsess over it. The only thing that's really on the table now is the fourth one down. The fourth one down says we're gonna start at 161 the day they start producing. So
Mhm.
until they start producing, we're not increasing the water, we're not paying $1.61. We're paying our regular amount. Which brings me to another question, which was Peter's question. In, what was it? In September of 2021, we set the water rates, okay? And we set the water rates to be 3.6% more each year. Plus we set a sewer rate, okay, so water and sewer combined was like 7 point something, but now we've split them. No, we haven't split them, water and sewer are still together. So we're already on track for a 7.6% increase per year.
3.6%.
Well, then what is the 7%? What is the sewer increase? We only talking water now, right?
Yeah, we don't.
All right, let's talk water. 3.6% for the water, okay? And the 5% for the water treatment plant. Because in that, every year, it's another 5%.
Correct.
And it says until we stop, so
Mhm.
there's no limit on that. So it's really not 3.6%, it's
That is-
8.6%.
So,
People figured that out,
okay,
and they said, what is this 3.6%? Not good, we gotta somehow acknowledge that.
do, it's, the 3.6 or whatever the final number come out to be with the raise, are we basing this on the initial amount? Or is it compounded each year, including, 5% of 100,000 makes it, next year it's 105,000. And then in next year it'll be 105,000,
The answer is it's compounded.
It is coming.
damn it, man.
Damn it, man. Right, all right, so from now until the day that they build this this water treatment plant, our water bills are going up 8.6% a year. I know this
For
because.
the first 5 years.
For the first five.
Yeah.
No, until they build a new water treatment plant.
Yeah, but for years, after 5 years, it goes up 2.5%.
In addition to the 3
So it's not gonna be 8 point, it's gonna be,
10 point.
no, it's gonna be less than that, 6.1.
No, it's 6.1 cents per gallon. I'm not talking about that. Right now, we are paying $2 for the gallon. I don't know, $1 for the gallon. I know what the number is. And that number is going up until this thing comes online,
3.6%.
plus the 5.
No, the 5 will start when we start operating that plant in year 1.
No, we're paying the extra 5 now. We're collecting that 5% right now. It was established. It was established in 2021. We've already collected, according to this, $4-point-something million.
There is a surcharge associated with anticipation of this plant, and we
Yeah.
are currently charging an additional 5% on top of annual rate increases in order to start banking money for the plant.
Thank you very
Right,
much.
that is correct, I'm sorry.
Okay.
But what I was saying was that after year 5, it's gonna be the 2.5% plus the 3.6, which is 6.1. It's not 8 point.
Well, and that assumes that we're not gonna charge 5% anymore as a surcharge. You're assuming the surcharge is going away.
Well, it's gonna change to 2.5%, if you look at that.
2.5%. Where do you see 2.5%?
The, in the bottom,
It says 2.5% change after year 5.
year there. It says something.
over there.
This,
No,
this.
No, it's on that page, it's on that page.
It's the same page.
No, 2.5%.
At the bottom.
There you go. You got it.
Right there.
You got it.
So year 1 to 5 is
Right.
5%, but after the 5th year is 2.5.
Oh, that's worse than I thought. Wait a minute. So the first 5 years, it's going up 5%.
Right.
A year.
Multiply, multiply, multiply,
Right.
multiply.
Come
You
back.
get to year 6, you don't multiply by 5%, you start multiplying by 2.5. 2.5, 2.5, 2.5, okay? That's assuming, or is it not assuming, I'm asking you, that we stop the additional surcharge of 5%.
The 5%
It's
goes to
reduced.
2.5%.
It's reduced,
It's
right?
reduced to
It's
2.5%.
reduced from 5 to 2.5.
Okay,
After year 5.
okay, so the
So the
5%
5% surcharge that we're getting now
will go down,
continues through year 5, and then it drops to 2.5.
Right.
That's what we're saying.
Right.
where does it say that?
Right here.
I know that says that, but you gotta pass an ordinance to do that.
That's,
Right now, we have an ordinance that says there's a 5% surcharge. It's an ordinance. And it says you're gonna do it until we stop. So you're telling me that in 5 years from now, we're gonna pass another ordinance to eliminate the 2.5%, the 5%, and drop it down to 2.5%.
according to this, yeah.
Yes,
Okay.
you would have to, yes.
All right, so that means.
That's a question worth asking.
Plus the 3.6 that's on top of it too.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's.
Continue.
And so when you ran these numbers, the next page, when you ran these numbers, okay?
This is a challenge.
This is a challenge,
Yeah.
yes, this is a very big challenge. Okay, so up to year one, we're paying 5% on 3.6. Am I right? All the negative numbers? All the negative years that you got here, -3, -2, -1? Those are the times that we're paying the 3.6% plus the 5% surcharge. Alright? And that's every year, that's, that's it. Okay, but once this plant comes online, you're telling me that is gonna change to $1.61 for every drop of water, every gallon of water. Right? So we're not comparing percent increases, we're now switching the conversation to the cost of the water. And that's everybody's, that's Pee Wee, that's Five Ash, whatever, alright. So that's why it's hard to compare them, because in the negative years, we're talking about the percent increase on what it costs us now, which is X cents, whatever the X cents is, okay? And after that, now we're talking about the cost of the water. So let's look at the cost of the water. In the first year, the water is gonna cost us $29,382,000. That's the enterprise is gonna have to come up with that amount of money. Okay? Plus the chemicals, plus the electricity, whatever that is, it's not here, somewhere, so I need another blurb. So in the very first year, the enterprise funds is gonna have to come up with $31,157,000 and change to pay for the water that we need. You got that? Am I reading that right? How much money do we have in the enterprise fund every year?
That I don't know, I would need to ask Susan that.
Okay, you see why, that's a lot of money. I don't know that we collect that amount of money, I just don't know.
So, Omar, I'm not sure if you can answer this either, but, where do we see the availability payment?
The availability pay is that 75% of the debt, for the IDE, I don't think it's showing here.
So,
No, James, can I interject? The 161 times 5,000, that 5,000 number there, 365 days a year, that's the number. That's the availability payment. Am I right, Susan? Oh no, Susan's not here.
so you're saying the 29,382, 500
It's the availability payment,
is the availability payment?
correct. Plus the chemicals, plus the electricity, which is not here, equals around 31,157,000.
So what is the IDE investment in this project? 100 and what million? 100 million?
121,
125 million?
121
So
million.
it's 485, 25%.
Okay, so what's that, 110?
21.
121, okay. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, maybe 6 years, they've made back all their money.
Yep.
And then we continue this till 30 years.
Correct.
So they're gonna be making,
No, well, that's
A lot
not,
of money.
100% fair, because in those out years, they also gonna have to repair the roof, replace the pumps, do the operations, and they've gotta pay back their profit, they gotta make a profit, just pay it, they gotta
I'm
make
a
a profit.
capitalist, I'm all for
Yeah,
profit,
all right,
but
so-
I think this might be excessive profit.
Well, I don't know, that's something that, we should be thinking about.
Well, that's fitting for P3.
Well, that's, yeah.
Say that again, Ralph,
I said, that's fitting for P3.
to make excessive profit.
If you go on their website, they're not in the business of providing utilities, they're in the business of investing
Making money for their
and
investment.
making money for their investors. You should go on their website, it's very interesting.
Okay, so that leads me to a question that come up when I read the report from the minutes from last meeting. And Omar, you said here that, if the city paid to construct the new water treatment plant itself, it would cost approximately 2.7% less. Is that over the course of 30 years, or what was that?
That's
a
just
reference to?
the CapEx. That's just the CapEx to build the plant.
We
If
could
you-
do it cheaper to build it.
If you look at this table,
Which table, the new number?
the one before this page, the one,
Page.
the one that we're looking at this, where we have the
Page
different.
9, you're saying?
Yeah,
Yeah.
so if we look at the third,
City-owned.
city-owned, what we're saying is that we can build it a little cheaper because that's where the 2.7% came. So instead of paying $75 10 years from now, we will be paying 71, the customer would.
And it's all a question of the cost of the money.
Yes.
I mean, if they borrowed the money, if they borrow their 25%, they pay more,
They pay more. If we do it ourselves and.
we pay less.
So that's the difference.
That's easy, that's straightforward. We always knew that, we said that from the very beginning.
Correct.
We could do it cheaper, we could borrow the money cheaper.
So Marilyn,
And not
look-
only,
sorry.
if I can continue,
Yes.
not only do they have to go out and borrow the $121 million,
It's six.
$121 million, they're gonna put, that's their skin in the game.
It's 106.
120,
106 if you multiply 25% by 485 million.
it's only 106. I did it, it came out to 121.
That's my calculation.
Now, let's do it again.
They're gonna make their money back in 6 years. They'll have to pay it off in 6 years. That's pure profit
Well,
after
that's-
that.
121, you're right. Sorry.
121, yeah, I know. It's 121, okay. So that's their skin in the game, which is good. At least they've got some skin in the game. The original proposal, they had all the skin in the game, okay? And then we decided we're gonna suck up some of that skin because it's cheaper, okay? So, their 121, they have to get that back plus their profit, which is fine, absolutely fine. I don't care, because that's what it's all about. So it's not only they gotta get back the 121, James, they gotta bet, maybe 10, 15, 20% on the 121. But when you do these numbers run out, they're gonna triple their money. When you run the numbers all the way out to 30 years.
I'm sure, yeah. The return on investment is huge.
What do you think they do this for? Love of God?
Well, okay, so
So-
we don't have the finance people here, but really? Is this the way we should be spending our money?
My purpose is simply to look at the stuff that we got, understand the stuff that we've got, so I can explain it to somebody and comment on it, There's things we don't know, there's things that now we've made improvements. We've sucked up the security, we've dealt with the pre-treatment, all of the things that were not talked about in the first proposal. So the proposal is getting fleshed out, the proposal is getting a little bit better to understand, but along with this better to understand comes a little clarity on how much this is gonna cost us. So, I mean, it's their decision, it's not our decision. But I bet to guarantee you they have no idea how to do this. Because they're gonna see this, and there's not enough time for them to really understand this. And we got 3 new guys and gals, thank God. 3 new guys and a gal, okay? You think in 2 weeks they're gonna absorb all of this and be able to make a considered decision?
They ought to be invited to our,
We need to
Meeting.
have a
We
conference
need 'em.
meeting with them.
Well, we certainly need to have a meeting with them.
Yeah.
And I think we can make that happen. But here we are, and I understand we're facing a hard deadline of December 30th. Can you go into that a bit?
December 20th.
December 20th? Oh, that's why December. No, the hard deadline on when you say, why December 20th is a hard deadline?
Because that's when the commission is supposed to make a decision whether we approve the comprehensive agreement or not.
That'll go to next year.
Well, they're not gonna be able to make a decision on December 20th. My understanding is that what happens is on December 30th, IDE can walk away.
They can walk away on December 20th if they don't make a decision.
Well, wouldn't that be nice?
Solves the problem.
Well, no, I mean, you're not gonna be able to make a decision on December 20th. So what are we doing here? If they're gonna walk away on December 20th?
If you got three, four new people, three new people, they're gonna, I guess they're gonna rely heavily on the other two.
Don't count on it,
I
sweetheart.
don't think so, not this.
I don't think so, not this group.
I don't know this, I will, but I don't know right now. Yeah,
Yeah.
Well, the potential District One commissioner would know,
Oh, he will know. He
Yeah.
will understand
Yeah.
these numbers.
right,
And I bet you he'll be very upset when he
Well-
sees all the numbers. So, well, we're speculating. We don't,
we
don't
are
know.
speculating, but we're talking about the difficulty in trying to understand this. And he's giving us that this is a hard deadline, they got to not just understand, they got to understand it and vote on it and pass it on the 20th. And
And they might decide, hey, let's do another month, 2 months, I don't know, anything can happen, right? The
Anything can
commission
happen.
can say, hey, we need 2 more months, therefore, let's do it in February, I don't know, anything can happen. Now, the price that they have, that 485, is good until December 30th.
That was the number that was what I was trying to get at.
Okay, well.
I had heard that on the street, but I wanted to
That
confirm.
that is the deadline for the price. I mean, after December 30th, the price goes up. We
Or
don't
it could go down.
it ain't going down.
It could go up.
But that is, that could be the case.
All right. All right, so here we are.
Yeah, we're almost done.
Okay, Alan,
Here
just
he
to bring
is.
you up to speed, we've gone through our little document. And appreciation to the staff for trying to get this clearer. Appreciation for the staff to understand that this needs to have a public component. But we obviously still don't have a comprehensive agreement. The more we look at these numbers and try to understand what this is actually gonna cost us, the more concerns we have about the total cost. And we're certainly concerned about this December 20th. This can't happen on December 20th.
I would
What's
say
your feeling?
December 20th is a target date. We've had several target dates in the past, and from doing the pre-briefings with the commissioners, it's probably unrealistic to think that we'll be able to accomplish everything that has to happen between now and then.
Including making them understand.
Yes,
I mean,
yes,
so
we-
three new
yeah.
people have to go back and come up to speed.
Yes, but we've been working for the last month, setting a target, because if we don't have a target that we're shooting for, we will never ever get it together, so we set that date and that's what we're working towards, but realistically, looking at what has to happen, we have to have that public engagement, we have to get all the documents out there with time for everybody to review it, and to be honest with you, we haven't even got a draft of everything to the point where it's ready to be released to the commissioners, to the public or anybody. And then for us to review it and release, it's gonna be very challenging.
Okay, well, I, as I said before you, at the very beginning, I would like, with the permission of the committee, to go and speak on, December 6th, which is tomorrow. And first of all, compliment you on the progress. Not only on the progress of trying to make this project, include some of the things like the pre-treatment and the security and making improvements in that respect, and also in trying to describe this in a more consumer-friendly manner, okay? But also express our concern that we're not ready. The documents are not here, the true ramifications of the cost is not yet clear. and, just try and be helpful, but point out to them some of the good things that have happened and some of the things that need to happen before they can make a reasonable decision.
I
that
heard
fair?
the city manager say the exact same thing, is
Oh.
we will not bring it to the commission till we feel that everything has been worked out and it's ready to be brought for a serious consideration, and we're not at that point yet.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
How do we get it to a point to where we can consider serious consideration, not by this team or your staff, but by the commission? They're the one that's got the vote. This is theirs. You're gonna hand them something, and I don't think they're gonna know what the hell you're handing them, but we expect for them to vote on it. And Madam Chair is saying they're not ready, and I agree. So,
Yes.
so if they are not ready on the 20th, and they decided, okay, that 483 or 4, whatever that was, instead of that 9, it's 5:30, what do we do?
We're gonna be seating 3 new commissioners tomorrow, and we're giving them the first presentation. I anticipate that we will have one-on-one sessions with probably every one of them as we're getting ready to help to get them up. And then we're gonna need to have a public forum with them involved as well. So, we don't want them voting, this is $600 million, $700 million decision, probably one of the most important decisions that they will make in their first year, if not their entire time holding the position. We don't want to put them in a situation where they're forced to make what could be a bad decision. So if they are not ready to have the vote, they can, we can delay the vote until they are comfortable. As we present the materials, they have really 3 choices when they vote. They can vote thumbs up and approve it, they can vote thumbs down and disapprove it, or they can vote to not go either way and to defer it to a later time, do more data collection or cause changes to occur in the agreement. But at this point, I will tell you that at least 2 of the commissioners, they don't have enough of an understanding of it to even have that type of a conversation yet. And that's, after tomorrow morning, we will start working to get them prepared to have that type of a discussion.
The problem that I'm having with this, if the new commissioners realize, and I'm sure the staff is going to at least mention it, that if we don't do something on December the 20th, more than likely, the cost of this project is gonna rise.
Yes.
You are forcing them to make a decision whether they prepared or not. Because supposedly they are gonna be about saving money. And so right out of the bat, you're gonna tell them, you're not ready, so get ready to spend additional money. I'm concerned. I'm very concerned.
As are you, I'm sure.
Yes, but it's a huge decision.
It is.
And
It is.
it's, I mean, when you look at the timeline, there's 3 years of work getting to where we are right now, and they were not part of it. And even with the mayor and Commissioner Glassman, who have been here for the last 2 years, they have not been into the nitty-gritty details of a 350-page agreement. And they need to understand that as well. So we have a lot of work to do.
And they need to get it more than on Thursday night before they have to vote.
Yes.
Really, seriously. Okay, and so my concern is, why are we putting it on an evening agenda for a vote on the 20th? When we know they're not gonna be ready.
We targeted that date, but at this point, I don't have something to put onto the agenda. And when we go through our process to decide if something's going on, if we don't have all of the agreements, all of the annexes, the labor service agreement, the O&M agreement ready to go, then it will not be on that agenda.
See, but what my concern is, on Thursday afternoon, you'll say, okay, we got everything, okay? And it goes on an agenda on Tuesday. We got a weekend. That's not gonna work.
Which is why in the presentation, we tried to say that, and we're shooting for to take on the responsibility, we have to still have those public meetings and those other stuff. We have to get a website up to make the documents available to the public.
Yeah, but
We
you know,
have to-
I agree with that, and it's all good, it's wonderful, that is the way we should proceed.
Time.
But by putting it on an agenda, okay, an evening agenda, what are they gonna do? Talk about it? It's very dangerous to put something on an, in my opinion, it's very dangerous to put something on an agenda, because the pressure is always, it's on the agenda, we gotta vote. Somebody is gonna call up the question and vote. I mean, it's, as a procedural matter, I would suggest to you and the city manager that that's a dangerous situation. If you really truly are not ready to put it on an agenda, having had the public participation, having had the document out there for a period of time for everybody to review, I would sincerely suggest to you, you don't put yourself in a position, and the commissioners in a position, of having it on an official agenda. My suggestion based on my experience. But that's that, okay? All right. So, any other questions for Alan on this subject, knowing that we're gonna be at this for another little bit of time? Yes,
So,
James.
given all of that discussion, what about the city commission meeting with us, having a conference meeting with the infrastructure task? Is that part of the thinking of the department and the city manager as well? Are we included in that information, education to the new city commissioners?
We're not sure because they have to have the discussion at the meeting tomorrow, decide how they want to, if they want to do a workshop or be part of a public meeting or just have us meet with the public. So that's one of the things they need to really engage tomorrow. I would encourage, if you are gonna be talking to them, I think bringing your individual experience recommendations to them on a one-on-one basis, but also requesting to have a joint meeting would be appropriate in this case.
I think, James, that's an excellent suggestion.
It is, but I don't know enough. I know more than the general public. I'm not gonna stand in front of the commission and say, you guys ought to sign this or not sign this. I don't even know what the issues are that got you guys hung or hamstrung.
So it's gotta be at
If
some
I
time
knew those
when we
5
have
things,
more.
maybe if there's 5, if there's 10, if there's 15. I mean, that's,
It doesn't do you any good until you actually have the documents in your hand and you have time to digest it and then you can talk about it. And unfortunately, we're not at the point to be able to do that yet.
So what if we were to say, Jerry, what if we were to say at some point, when all the documents and information are available, we would like to meet with you to give you the benefit of our input into this.
based on the conversation that we're having, any new product development process,
Yeah.
which this is, has in it a list of reviews that have to happen. Not, this one has one big one.
Yeah, we haven't picked them
As
out.
opposed to, here's when we're gonna tell Roosevelt, and here's when we're gonna tell the public, and here's what we're gonna tell them, and who's preparing it for it to be told. Because if any of the, this is great for us, but if any of the public sees this, you hear the boos and cat calls
They won't understand.
from the
it.
jump,
They
they
won't
don't
understand.
understand.
Yeah, I would
Well,
not
what
wanna,
they'll
I would not wanna
understand,
run
what
that
they'll
meeting.
understand is the price of playing poker is going up.
That's what they would understand. And that's my concern.
The price of playing poker is, wanna drink water or not.
Okay, so I think,
So I would
Maybe we
make a
hold off
schedule,
on that.
I'd make a schedule that says, here's when we're gonna do this part, here's when the first review happens. And we want the first review to happen while it's a public review. Were I you, I'd wanna know what the attitude was of that meeting.
Marilyn, I think when you speak tomorrow, you should offer us up to them and say, we're available to have this.
but I think we can do both. I think we can deal with both concerns. We're always available. I mean, we could always say, we are always available to meet you. We have met with you in the past on these, the complicated issues, okay? And when all the material is on the table, you know, and we have a greater sense of what the components are and what the schedule is, we're here, we're your committee. All you have to do is ask, and we will sit with you and give you the benefit of how we what we think is, I don't know, what am I gonna say? And give you the benefit of our experience in this matter, alright? Cause
What-
would that be acceptable, Jerry?
I think so.
Okay, cool. We'll do
Whatever,
that.
I think it's imperative that we do have a meeting with the commission, with the new commissioners.
Yes.
And that's what I was saying earlier, not osmosis, but I mean, at least we can hit on the critical areas that need to be focused upon, including whatever, on the timing, everything, to put it in there, to give them a better idea of what our thoughts are, so that they can try to develop their thoughts, a better understanding, so they can actually intelligently vote on the damn thing, I mean, on the thing, excuse me.
Okay, gentlemen, are we sort of, we have another item on the agenda, which is an important item about the grant funding for infrastructure. So we're gonna be doing this again. January, we'll be here, we'll be talking about this again, okay?
Okay.
But, you know, we gotta keep ahead of this game.
You promise.
Thank you very much. I promise. Okay. Second order of business. We're gonna have a year-end wrap-up of grants and projected grants for 2023. And hi, why don't you introduce yourself again to all the group? You've been here before.
I have. For those of you who don't know me and who know me, Daphne Sainville. I'm the Government Affairs and Economic Development Manager for the City of Fort Lauderdale. So I handle all the lobbying for the city on the state and federal level, which is a lot of fun. But at the same time, hard work. As you know, there's been $1.2 trillion over 5 years for the bipartisan infrastructure package. Included in that package are some infrastructure funding opportunities on the federal level. However, there are some opportunities where notice of funding opportunities have not been released. But the ones that have been released are the Bridge Investment Program, CRISI, which is the Consolidated Rail Infrastructure and Safety Improvement, which is more of a transportation grant, but it does have some aspects of infrastructure that we see here in Public Works. There's also the Charging and Fueling Infrastructure Competitive Grant. I believe we looked at that, but we determined that we weren't eligible due to some nuances that we didn't have. What else? There's the RAISE grant, which is also a transportation grant. We did apply for Reconnecting Communities, which would provide us the opportunity to hire a consultant to look at some more economic impact statements with this rail, with the bridge versus tunnel debate that's ongoing for the northern portion of the New River commuter rail transportation system. We're still waiting to hear back. The grant has been received, it's being reviewed, so we haven't gotten a response back yet. We were asking for $1 million. Sorry, I'm trying to go both ways. We think we may get it, but crossing fingers, we'll let you know. With that, there are some other opportunities such as financing innovative grants, which uses asset concessions to help us build possibly the new water plant, the new city hall, should there be a new city hall, if the new commission, once they get sworn in, wants it, and then other buildings that are very close to transportation, like the Brightline Station, Tri-Rail, and rail altogether. So on the state level, because session hasn't started yet, we're still not sure what's there. I do know I have asked Alan and his team for different projects that we could be eligible for to receive some state funding. Hopefully I get that this week, so I can have a program done. But as soon as I get that, I'll know what projects we might have, some of last year's projects overlapping with this year's request, and I can make another update in January as soon as interim committee weeks, which begins December 12th. the first interim committee week will happen. I will not be there, but I will be there at the second interim committee week for legislative session, which is after the new year. They are having special session for property taxes and just trying to figure out what to do with, no, not property tax, property insurance. You know, I just paid my property tax, so it was on my brain. For property
Did you
insurance.
pay your insurance bill?
I did.
Okay, so.
Which definitely.
It's on your nerves.
It was a very difficult check to write. It increased significantly for no reason, but
Mine did about 55%.
mine.
I'm sorry, 105%.
We digress.
Yeah, but we digress. But I'll have a more comprehensive update for everybody in January. Our in-house grants and budget department, as well as our public works and transportation department, anything infrastructure related, just to see what it looks like we could be qualifiable or eligible for, but sometimes there are the small things where it trickles down to the state and we have to apply for state, the state agencies in order to get funding. But if there's any questions, I can definitely jot them down and then bring back some answers if I don't have them now.
Well, one of the, thank you very much for coming and for all the work you do. And everybody else who feeds her the projects to go and get the grants. I was looking at some of the literature on the federal grants, on the infrastructure grants. And I noticed that there are criteria, 5 or 6 criteria. And the first criteria is underserved communities.
Correct.
We didn't check that one, okay?
So we do on the west side, in the historic Sistrunk area, that would be our underserved community. They look at equity, making
was my next
sure
one.
that the funding, whatever project we have is equitable. They also require that we look at righting a historic wrong, which ties into the equity, and that's where the Reconnecting Communities grant came into play. Because the concept is that the bridge would physically separate east side of the tracks from the west side of the tracks. A tunnel, because you're not seeing it, there's no actual physical separation, it keeps the community together. And that was the righting the historic wrong of having that east versus west. And there are 2 more I cannot remember off the top of my head, but we did check off the boxes for each one of those criteria in the bill.
Okay, well, that limits our eligibility to a certain area.
No, that's only a small part of the picture when applying for it. Those are the criteria that the Biden-Harris administration wants to specifically look at, but overall, it's everything.
So it's not a matrix of values?
No.
No.
At the end of the day, you can check off those things, but it's not gonna give you more points or less points.
That's what I was asking.
But it does give you some more credence in saying that this need is needed in Fort Lauderdale more than it is Miami. Because we have a bigger underserved population than Miami. Or the need for this project is better, but I'm trying to say this in the most diplomatic way. It won't necessarily prevent us from getting the funds.
Okay.
Yes.
When you use the term underserved, I was SLD student, and I'm sorry, I don't speak a lot either. Give me a good definition of the underserved area.
I would use it in an example.
Okay.
When I have friends who come out of town who want to visit Fort Lauderdale, they only talk about Las Olas. They only talk about Flagler Village and the beach, but they don't talk about Sistrunk. They don't talk about.
That doesn't mean
But
they're
no,
underserved.
let me finish. Let me finish. It's because, and that is the definition in a sense that the federal government looks at, because Las Olas and the beach sells itself. The east side of the city sells itself. That's what everybody knows in Florida and outside of Florida. But people don't know the rest of Fort Lauderdale. They don't know the different areas of Fort Lauderdale. They just know these particular areas. So that knowledge in that example is what we consider underserved. It could be population based, but it's also resource based. The resources are going to Miami Beach, East Fort Lauderdale, but they're not going to the west side of Fort Lauderdale. They're not going to Sistrunk. They're not going to the African American population. And that's what they mean by underserved, the minority population within a city, within a local government. That's how they define it. They're being very diplomatic when they say underserved because they don't want to say Black community. I'll just say it. But that is the thing. They don't want to say the Black and brown community is why this bill has been put in, why the money is there. They're striving for equity. Not equality, but equity on a monetary sense where those grant funding opportunities can help not only the places that already get it, but the places that don't get it.
When you have about a month, I'd like to sit down and talk to you.
Absolutely. I'm more than happy to.
And
We can talk.
and when we finish, you'll find out that, one, the definition that they use for underserved is so far off, it is unreal.
It's a poverty
And
rate.
the reason why they talk about Los Osos and the beach, because it's promoted by the Chamber of Commerce. And I just wanna make sure that when we applying for these grants, I give you a prime example when they did, I had a grant program going for the underserved side of town. They got the money here on using the underserved community, but their underserved community was Los Osos, was the beach,
Right.
was the downtown area, straight down Andrews Avenue, nothing west of the railroad track.
Right.
So I just need to make sure that never happen again.
Yeah.
And trust me,
That's why
it will not, as long as I'm alive.
That's why I'm here. And we did try to make sure that we hit those 5 criteria, righting the historic wrong, equity, equality. It's not just underserved, but it's also checking off those other boxes to make sure the target population that we're serving is the correct area. Even if it did encompass maybe a little part, maybe that Flagler area, the majority of it would go within the parameters that we put into the grant application.
I appreciate it.
Absolutely.
How do you deal with the fact that we have a CRA that's devoted exclusively to that area? Does
This-
that impact
It's gonna go away anyway.
The CRAs are sunsetting. State
They're
law
all
in 2018, I wanna say, 2017. We
Okay.
had, the legislature passed a bill sunsetting CRAs in about 2026. All CRAs.
All of them going away.
Wow.
The beach is already sunsetted.
And they're just spending money that they had left over?
It's money that's already encumbered,
Okay.
and the rest of the money, I believe, goes into
That should be very
gen
good for the
fund,
city.
or however it's supposed to go.
So now all that money is coming back into the general fund and the county funds.
I believe so.
That's interesting. That's another discussion. All right.
Yeah.
Is it possible to get a list of the grants that we've actually, is there any secrecy in the grants that we've been requesting?
Always secrecy. No, I can definitely get a list of the grants that are available and the ones that we've applied for,
Oh, that would be very helpful
Um,
because people keep
asking.
well, why don't we just get these grants? Why are we having to build a water treatment plant? Well, there's a process. We're trying to get the grants. Look at here, is the grants that we tried to get this year under these programs. It's information, really. You can chill people out so easily if you just give them the information.
If you want,
They might not like the
we can
information.
absolutely want to talk about the grants we have applied for.
The ones that, okay.
So I have a list of the projects that we applied for in the grant program, if you want me to show it, to tell you now.
Yeah, we got a couple of minutes, sure.
Alright, so
May I have your
I'll
name,
just,
please?
Suleiman Urikani.
Got it, thank you.
So for the Resilient Florida grant program, we applied in September for 3 projects, Dorsey Riverbend neighborhood, That's the $20 million project cost estimate, and we asked for 10.4. Progresso neighborhood, $26.9 million cost of the project, we asked for 13.4. And for the Osceola Canal restoration, we asked for $2 million. The state usually, correct me if I'm wrong, Daphne, but I think December is when the governor is going to announce who are going to be the projects that they're gonna award.
Possibly.
Yeah,
It
last
de-
year
it
was
depends.
November, this year, I don't know what they're gonna do.
Well, because legislative session starts in March, he might announce it after the new year because of the property insurance special session.
Right, so we're waiting for that. We also
That's
did
impressive.
apply, the state did a 2022 local support grant program. We did apply for 3 projects. Himmershey Canal seawall, we asked for $3.2 million. La Sola seawalls improvements, there's a few seawalls that we asked for $1.2 million. We also asked for a mobility improvements project for $2.5 million, and I don't think the state didn't go through
We
this.
only applied for one.
We did apply.
We submitted 3, but we ended up applying for one.
And did we get that?
We got it. We got 500,000 for one of the seawalls. But it's being held up because the governor doesn't believe that the local support grant money is unilaterally approved by the House. So it's still being held up.
That's it. And then we did apply for the federal government project, which is the bridge investment program that Daphne mentioned. That's about $12 billion program. We did submit $23.2 million for various of citywide
Of our
bridge
bridges.
improvements.
I remember our bridges, no, bridge. That money would go for bridge.
So we're waiting for that, and then in total, we asked for about $56.7 million.
See, just put it on a piece of paper.
Can you send that to me? Because I don't
Yes.
think you sent me those applications.
But I'll send it again.
Thank
You people talk. And put it down on a piece of paper so that we can see it and
There's a
then
chart. He has a chart,
Oh,
but
wonderful, that
the
would be
actual
wonderful.
applications weren't. I wasn't notified. I wasn't notified about the actual application.
Okay, well, this is good, yeah, progress. Anybody have any additional questions for Daphne? Any questions?
Very good.
Very good.
Yeah.
All right, thank you very much. We'll see you in a year.
Yes.
Oh,
Have a
excellent.
wonderful holiday.
You too. Okay,
I'm gonna see her as soon as she get a month.
Yes.
okay. So the next item on the agenda is the November water and wastewater break report. Actually, was very interesting because now we're getting cumulative results. This one is like almost the whole year, right? It's starting to accumulate in the water and the sewer breaks. And I looked at this on a big screen, so not this little bitty screen here. I don't see any patterns that we have to be concerned about, do you? I mean, it's not one area that everything is breaking all of a sudden, it's kind of random. What are you thinking about? When you look at this data, what are you thinking? What does it say to you?
It says to me that there's not a whole lot we can use for it. Breaks, in general, I think the numbers are trending down a little bit from before, but I think that's because of the investments that we've made in the high-risk areas.
Well, that's what I'm trying to get at. If you don't, yeah, go on, Ralph.
I was gonna say, if you have like, what we did in the county, would have the installation dates of the water mains, the force mains, and everything like that, based on general, and of course with the material that they were, cast iron versus ductile iron, et cetera. That used to be able to help us kind of locate the area in general. And then when a pipe started to break in that area, we kind of put the red flag up and saying, well, they're the same things, there's gonna be more in that specific area, vintage area, that these things are gonna fail. So that's just another thing. It's obvious, but I mean, it's sometimes the most obvious techniques work pretty good on that. And the new PVC piping, that inert material, we didn't have to worry about too much on that. But locations of the older portions of the city with the older pipe in there is something that's a good indicator.
What you had provided for us relative to the the pump station upgrades, where you did an analysis that showed all of the pump stations that were upgraded and the decrease in the electric usage, so you could actually see a quantitative improvement that resulted from the investment. Is there some way to do that with these sewer breaks? I know, cause people say, well, they're still breaking, but they're still breaking, we have bad luck, they break. But you know, we replaced this line here, and 2 years ago, we had 10 breaks. Well, we probably have to do it by basins. You know, we did work in this basin, and 2 years ago, we had 5 breaks, and now we only have 1 break. Is it possible to do that kind of I'm just putting that out for discussion, because I like to show progress. We're spending a lot of money. I'd like to show progress, and in a way that people can understand, and not tiny little spreadsheets. Just something to think about.
I think when we get to the asset management program and we're actually using that, it'll be a much better way to do it. I think if we talk to our utility folks, they do track that, because I remember down on, I think it was 15th Ave, down here, we had a pipe, a sewer pipe that had a break in. This is several months ago.
My
And-
neighborhood, yes.
And so, you know, I was talking to Chris Woolweaver, who's one of the folks there, and he's like, yeah, we've had 3 breaks on this pipe, you know, in the past, and they were able to pull up in their systems and say how many times they had a break on that line, and based on that, it was prioritized to get into the CIP for this next year. And I think every time that a pipe breaks or something occurs on it, they do go back and look at the historic data on it to get an indicator. I don't know exactly what those systems are that they're using, but I know that they do try and use that as well when a pipe breaks, to say, is something, are we at that critical failure point and we're gonna have more happening? And we need to prioritize and bump it up ahead of the other, so if you let us talk a little bit more with
Think about
Abby and his folks, they might be able to explain how they go and do that better.
That'd be great.
But
That'd be
long-term asset management is the system to help us to do that, to do predictive analysis.
Cool. What percent complete are we on that program? I know we were really good on the sewers, getting the sewer information into it. Is it all complete now on the sewers, or asset management?
You know, the sewer system is 100% into our CityWorks asset management software system, yes. As far as running data analytics and predictive calculations as to what that system recommends for repair and or replacement, proactively speaking, well, we don't have the data yet to be able to run that kind of predictive analytics. So we're still going off of risk and historical breakage information.
So we're still relying on Abby and his brain, and how many breaks he remembers on that line. Well,
Generally
eventually
speaking,
we will get that on the computer.
And I realize I mentioned to Jill and everything about, I've got a sewer manhole at the T intersection that over 20 years it has been breaking, but it's at a shallow end, it's only an 8-inch diameter pipe. And I appreciate why you just try to fix the subgrade and compact it and then put a patch around it, because you've got to use the money really for the more severe breaks and have an understanding. That's what I was explaining to a few of my neighbors in the area where I've been watching this over like 20 years. But yeah, it would be easier and less expensive to fix that thing, but the money that it takes needs to be channeled towards the more severe and the older parts of Fort Lauderdale to get that fixed up completely. It's not like you're gonna have a cave-in at a shallow gravity sewer main, as opposed to one that's deeper and such that it's gonna create a real scene. Not that stormwater sewers would have sinkholes oh, that's right, we did have one out there on 18th, which I appreciate the expediency in trying to put some asphalt material in there to keep it from somebody losing their wheel on, but I sincerely, appreciate the efforts that you all make, realizing there's a lot of stuff going on. You can only put a Band-Aid on so many items at a time. So,
Okay, well, the one thing I wanted to bring to everybody's attention is on the water and sewer bond expenditure summary, where on the page 1 of 2, where they list all of the things that we've done under the bond fund. Under I&I, we had a $17 million budget for the I&I projects. We've actually spent close to 15, and we still have 2 million and change left. How does that comport with what we're doing now in I&I? I mean, we were gonna do certain basins, right? And we started out doing the worst basins. Now, is this bond money the only money that's going into the I&I project, or is there other money?
There's other money.
That's what I was.
And that for the CIP, we have I&I work for the next 5 years.
Okay, so it's not that we're just looking, and we only have $2 million left to do, thank you.
I think within the overall CIP, we have 22 or 25 million dollars worth of projects that are funded moving forward. We've been having some discussions about in some neighborhoods, we need to accelerate that a little bit more
Mm-hmm.
because of the impact it's having on GTL, so we're looking on how to get more money into I&I on pump stations, particularly with very high run times.
Okay, yeah, fine. All right, that was the only question I had on the reporting that we do every month. Unless anybody else has any questions on the reporting? Okay, moving on to general discussion and comments. We're almost at 4:00, so let's try and keep this brief. Do we have any speakers, ladies? Do we have anybody who signed up?
Yeah,
No, we do not.
There's no sign-up paper up over there, but
We do not
I'd
have
like to
anyone
speak.
that signed up.
Hold on, just thank you very much. We have no one signed up. Okay, not ready yet.
Okay.
Relax. Okay. Okay, general comments. Anybody got concerns that we should be concerned about other than the state of the world?
Jill, I wonder if you, that email that I had sent to you, were you able to forward that to somebody just for a bounce-off type of things at that time? And I was curious.
Yes, I did forward it on, thank you.
Okay, I'm just wondering, I haven't got a response or anything like that,
I actually forwarded to Omar.
What are we talking about? So we all know. An email, a project, a
Yeah,
particular
it was,
project?
and I was really hoping to get a copy of this to the members, and I didn't have them, so. It basically was about the 5-ash and different questions and things that I've had. I was trying to get some information back. I think we've probably discussed them here and on that, but I'm always one to like to put it on the record and just so that it shows that there was questions and they were answered or responses were received. And that was basically this, and if I could maybe just put that in there for,
Why don't you just put it in the record?
in the
There you
record.
go, in the record. For the record. Okey dokey. All right. Anything else?
Not for me.
Okay.
I guess.
Yes, Jay.
I noticed the next meeting is scheduled for January 9th, which is the second Monday.
That's because we don't want to do it on the first Monday because it's too close to the holidays.
It's
Is that
the same-
okay?
Yeah, it's perfect. I was gonna suggest it until I saw this.
Thank you very much. Okay. And I just wanted to bring up one thing, Michael Marshall, was notified that he had 4 absences, and 4 absences you're automatically, terminated is the wrong word. You're automatically off the committee.
Excused.
Off the committee. And he contacted me and he explained that, some family issues, health issues, et cetera, and I asked Alan if he could tell me what the procedure would be to reinstate Michael. I think Michael is a valuable member of the committee, especially since he is our connection directly to the Budget Advisory. So Alan is making inquiries. Have you got any report on that?
Oh, they're putting them on the next available appointments to get them reappointed to the
Oh, there
committee.
you go. problem solved.
He's reappointed,
Thank you, Alan.
he's reappointed by his commissioner.
Appreciate it,
He's gonna
appreciate
come.
No, actually, he's not reappointed by his commissioner,
It's
he's
just they
the
just-
Board of Adjustment representative.
Right. The Budget Advisory Board's rep, so he just gets on there and then they will appoint him, like an ad hoc position.
Oh, excellent, excellent. Okay, thank you very much. I don't have anything else. We do have one person from the public who, despite not signing up, has requested 3 minutes to speak.
Good afternoon, everyone. 30 years ago, England and Wales,
your name, please?
Boyd Corbin.
Boyd
Corbin. Yeah, I'm the water guy around here. 30 years ago, England and Wales privatized their water and sewer. Tens of billions of water bill money is being wasted on interest payments and tens more in profits for shareholders. And now the government wants to buy back their privatization contract. It was a big mistake. So it looks like over the last month, this P3 project went up about $31 million. So now, before it was 635 million plus 31. So now that's a nice round $666 million, the mark of the beast. I won't go into that. Okay, you mentioned the Coca-Cola plant. In Detroit, it uses 100 million gallons of water per year. And a Nestle plant uses 400 million gallons per year. But if we go with this nanofiltration system and deep well inject the water into the ground, we're going to waste 2.2 billion gallons of fresh water per year. Who knows what climate change is going to bring us in 30 years? You guys don't. Okay, if we refurbish 5-ash and we use ozone and carbon as a filtration method, then over 2 billion gallons of water will be saved. And we'll save $500 million too, because it only costs $170 million to refurbish it. And it would only take probably a couple years instead of 4 years with this P3 project. But here's the most important part. We need to stop putting ammonia into our city tap water. Ammonia plus chlorine is called chloramine, which is much less effective disinfectant than chlorine alone. It doesn't kill bacteria very well. And it's bad for the health of infants under 6 months old, people with suppressed immune systems from HIV and chemotherapy. It's bad for dialysis patients, people with sensitive skin, which causes rashes and makes their hair fall out in clumps. It's a certain percentage of people, but it's hell for them. Chloramine corrodes lead and iron from pipes. It leaches the tin solder from pipe joints, which you end up drinking this stuff. Not everyone can afford to have whole house carbon filters. Water comes out of 5-ash green because of the grasses that it flows through in the Everglades. And some houses like mine have green water. But why is water yellow or brown as it travels further and further away from 5-ash? Does anyone know? No, you guys don't. It's because of the corrosion. It's because that's the color of the metal that is going into the water that's turning it yellow or brown. So, let's see. So spending $666 million on a brand new shiny water treatment plant, if we keep putting ammonia in the water, it's still going to come out yellow or brown after this thing is built. It's going to be a big catastrophe. All right. It's very technical, chloramine. So what I did is I contacted this place called Citizens Concerned About Chloramine. They've been around for 15 years. They're in California. Denise, the president, her phone number is right on here. You can call her. I talked to her for 2 hours. Okay, she's one of these people where she has to take bottled water and every day pour it on her head after she takes a shower, because otherwise she'll have huge rashes. And other people are like that over there. I'm going to somehow try to get this flyer to you guys.
Thank you.
And you can by email or something like that. And please read it. It's just 2 pages. It's very serious and it's just a 30-year commitment to ammonia that we really don't wanna make. That's all.
Thank
That's
you
all my
very
time.
much. I
Thank you.
just have a quick question. We talked about this. In the new plant, we're not using ammonia anymore, are we?
We are using a different type of what we're using right now.
What does that mean?
It's a different chemical than what we're using. It's still ammonia. It's it's what the utilities department decided to use.
No, I'm confused. Are we talking about the new water treatment plant or the existing water treatment?
The new water treatment plant is still gonna use a type of ammonia.
Type of ammonia?
It's a different chemical formula for what we're using right now. It's a different form.
Thank you. Could you please elaborate on that at a future date? Just give me some information about it, please.
Yeah, I
Thank you
believe
very
it's,
much.
I have to look at the,
Alright.
at the name.
And I got this question last night from a group of people who said, yeah, you're gonna get this clean water out of the plant, but when it goes through the pipes, we're still gonna get brown water.
And that's exactly right, because
Well, but there's nothing, I mean, because the pipes themselves need
are
to be.
rusting, they're rusting, the old cast iron that's rusting internally
Right.
are still going to do that, especially in those areas that are sort of slow velocities in there, it's going to get,
I appreciate that, but over time, we are gonna be replacing pipes. We have replaced a number of pipes. In front of my building is a brand-new PVC pipe. So the only solution to that is over time, replacing all the pipes. Think Flint, okay? You have to replace all those old pipes. But you have to start with clean water. You have to start, but I wanna talk about that ammonia thing, okay? All right, any other questions?
It's on the annexes, on the new, on the ones that you have, where it has the chemicals, it lists all the chemicals.
Well, if I had the annex, I'd take a look at it.
You never got the annexes,
We don't have annexes.
so
We don't
I
have the
can't remember.
appendices, no.
You-
Okay? All right, yes, sir.
You packed a lot into that speech, but this ammonia thing deserves a look if you put.
Certainly deserves a look, yes.
Yeah, the document, are you planning on making it part
Um,
of the minutes?
Yeah,
Then
yeah.
you
Let's
need a
put it in
motion,
there.
you need a motion to submit it.
Do we need a motion to submit Ralph's document as well?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, can I,
Um,
please?
I move that we submit the document from Mr. Corbin and Mr. Zedman and be included in the minutes.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, God bless you.
Who were the
God
two
bless you.
people, Mr. Corbin and?
And Mr.
Ralph
Zeltman.
And Zedman.
But then somebody's gotta get me that so I can read it. Let me just write it down.
I'm gonna try to email it to you.
You have my email it to me. All right, thank
Who
you.
seconded it, please?
Who seconded it? Jerry.
I can email you mine, so.
Somebody's gonna get it to me. Yes, one more quick question.
So Omar, you talk about a different type of ammonia compound or formula, so are you saying then that that does not form the chloramines?
Yeah, it does form the chloramines. It does.
That's the game.
It's the name of it.
Same shit, different.
So it's NH4, right?
It's not an H4.
Okay, guys, it's 4:06, we're putting this on the agenda for the next meeting.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank everybody. We won't see you for the holidays. Have a happy,
Happy holidays.
a wonderful, and healthy with your families. Thank you very much.
We get a mystery
And they
chemical.
put that in back with the lady that came over here.
We'll tell you after we sign the contract.
Those guys went.
I don't care
Holidays.
you can use X.
Oh, you. No, you're looking good.
You guys do good.
As soon as I get it, I will.
Okay.
Stadium?
Yeah.
Want me to go on the other side and get them for you?
No, I'm gonna go around right now.
Thank you.
This is it gets wider in the middle.
The only thing I needed was Daphne's last name and title.
Pauline,
What is Daphne's
Since you're
last
asking
name?
for it, I'll do it, but everyone.
Daphne's last name?
It's just that he packs it with all this other shit.
Presentation is bad.
Dan.
Just, you have to unpack it, right? You have to separate.
And a DAPA.
Pretty easy to separate.
Oh, gosh.
Why go through? Even homeowner knew that that wasn't
And E.
the smartest thing to do.
There's
Okay,
always
you have
something,
my
James.
email?
Always something.
Does anybody have? Yes, Carla at First. What about documents? And anything like the presentations that were handed out as a packet, are those online?
Yes, but I can send you all of it.
That would be great.
All right.
because then I can look at that on it. Thank you.
Everything you need, right? Did Marilyn sign in? Marilyn? Yeah. Cause I know when it was going around.
did. Can you forward me the copies of that?
Yes.
Thank you. I guess I just need everything. We just kind of hold on to whatever she gets back and then I think most of the time we give her all except one. None of them are Okay. I'm telling you. I'm gonna put this back in that can on her desk so she knows where it's at. Yeah, I don't remember who's that is. So I think that's everything for the event. And they'll cut that off, I think they got another meeting after this. They do?
Okay, darling, see you.
All right, nice seeing you.